everyone. I am just hanging out here at the house today. I was doing cleaning and getting ready to go start work at my computer, but I am also trying to get back into a regular videotaping routine again here. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Trilogy Non-Invasive Ventilator. It is similar to a BiPAP machine, except I guess the difference would be is it's supposed to be a little bit more sensitive to your breathing patterns, and so it adjusts to you. As I think I mentioned previously, when I was in the hospital, they put me on a non-invasive vent for sleeping because my arterial blood gas was really high, and so they wanted to get my carbon dioxide retention down, and this is one of the ways that they can do it. So while I was in the hospital, I had an amazing respiratory therapist who worked with getting my adjustments right, and when I left the hospital, I guess the difference that I felt from having my CO2 lowered, because it will make you tired, it makes you more short of breath. So all the work that I had been doing exercising, I guess I wasn't reaping the full benefits of it because of all my CO2 retention. So when I came out of the hospital, I felt amazing. And then I had a month where I had to wait for the machine to come in, and during that month, by the end of it, I felt like if I didn't get the machine soon, I was just going to be done. So finally the machine came, and it's a little bit harder for the respiratory therapist that comes to the house to get everything tweaked and adjusted just right. In the hospital, you're there for the night, you're doing your regular sleeping patterns, and the respiratory therapist is there for the entire night. So, I mean, they can't leave, so they might as well work on it. Here, they come in for the afternoon. It's not during a time when you would normally be asleep, so you might put it on for a little while, and they make some adjustments while they're there, but then you don't ultimately see what it feels like until they leave, and you go to bed for the night. So, needless to say, we're still tweaking it. I would say, though, that overall, the benefits are worth it, even so far. I think, too, that I'm not sure that the full benefits that I was reaping in the hospital that I will feel here at home, because at the time, too, I was on steroids. And when I left the hospital, then I was taken off. I wouldn't have kept taking them even if I had been offered, just because I try to avoid them. I'm going to try to avoid them for as long as possible. I don't use any steroid inhalers, and I just feel they take a huge toll on people's bodies. So for me, my choice is to put off the use of them for as long as I possibly can, just to preserve what my own body can do for itself. So some of the benefits that I may have been feeling from the non-invasive vent in the hospital could have also been boosted by being on the steroids. So I've probably been with my non-invasive ventilator here at home with the Trilogy machine for about a month, maybe 5 weeks or so. So I'm still, getting used to it, and I will say that the first probably 2 to 3 weeks was just torture, because the therapist had ordered a nasal pillow mask for me, and anything over my nose is just insane for me. In the hospital, I had a full facial mask, that goes over your entire nose and mouth, whereas the nasal pill it goes right over your nostrils and over your mouth. And so trying to use that, I felt like I was suffocating, and I was getting less sleep than like none at all. So not only was I not benefiting for the Trilogy machine, I was also lacking sleep. And as anybody knows, with any type of lung condition, you need as much sleep as you can to rest your body and get it ready for the next day. So the first 3 weeks for me were like pure torture. Finally, the other mask came in, and I got adjusted with one that I am totally happy with. And at that point, I started getting more comfortable with the machine and finally started sleeping some more. So my body's getting back to a regular cycle, and I started feeling some of the benefits of the Trilogy. Like I said, we still have some more tweaking and adjusting, and I expect it to get a little bit better yet. But so far, overall, I feel like it does help, and I am happy with it, and I'm thankful to have it, and I'm so glad they decided to do this. For anybody that is new to the Trilogy, I would say that probably the most important thing is to be patient with it and to keep working with it. I was told that I should be on it for a minimum of 4 hours a night, and at first when I was sleeping with it, as soon as that 4 hours was up, I would take it off. I will say that now I sleep the entire night with it on. I've never been one to sleep through the night, and I get up periodically through the night, and I still do even with this. Some differences that I notice is when I sleep really soundly. I have no more nighttime headaches, which is great. And in the beginning, I had a lot of daytime headaches then. But I am assuming that could be from the pH. My pharmacist said that anytime the pressure changes in my lungs for the pH will be affected, and sometimes my body will feel that in a way of like headaches or other things similar to that. So I'm assuming that being that I was treated for something and it caused some changes in my body, that could probably be where those were coming from. So now the daytime headaches have subsided, and I haven't had a headache problem in quite some time, where I used to have them nightly. Basically at the end of the night, just before getting up, I would have a headache, and it would fade as I got up and got going with my day. When I was first put on the Trilogy, there would be no nighttime headaches, and then when I would get up, I would end up with a headache that would increase during the day, and that got a little bit frustrating, and it went on for a couple weeks. And so like I said, I've only been on it for 5 weeks, so I've had so many different challenges in those 5 weeks. But like I was saying, to anybody that's new with it, stick with it, give it a chance, be patient, keep trying masks. You'll find one that works for you. There's a ton of different ones, and eventually you will find one that works for you. Another thing that was a little bit tricky is that if you're careful and you don't realize it, that if the seal isn't all the way right, the mask will blow harder than you would probably want it to. And I didn't know this, so I didn't know that all this air was blowing extra because the seal wasn't quite right. And what I found is once the seal is right, you can hardly even hear any air or anything going on. So just be patient, keep working with it, and I think that most of you who end up with it will be extremely happy with the results. It's like a good breathing day when you have it on. Not at first. At first it felt like extra work, but once you get used to it and you relax with it, it feels like a good breathing day. It feels like a good stretch for your lungs, and I felt like I could breathe more deeply into my lower lungs afterwards. some days more than others, and like I said, I feel like I still need the machine tweaked a little bit more, because I feel like I could have that benefit even further every day if the machine was tweaked and adjusted just right. That's how I felt in the hospital every day. So I think it still needs to get a little bit closer to what was going on in there. But in any case, I'm going to keep working at it and keep working with the therapist that comes. She comes out once a month, and we see where I'm at. So now she has been out 2 times so far. So for the first 4 weeks, she came out once, and then going into my 5th week, it would be the 2nd month, so she came out again. And in a couple more weeks, she will be coming out again, and we will see what kind of adjustments we can make, and hopefully it just keeps getting better. But yeah, so for those of you who are just getting on it, another thing that I found overwhelming is it really looks like, I expected something like my husband's CPAP machine, which is tiny. It sits on the bed and, on the nightstand, and you don't even hardly notice it. This looks like regular old, like you have the hospital room in your room, which is kind of weird, but once I got used to it, it's not as much as it seems. The other thing, too, is we're kind of figuring out how we might travel with this. It's obviously going to change some things. We're going to have more equipment to bring with. I think we're going to do our first trip just as a road trip in the car, so we don't have to worry about as much with the airlines and everything, and I think we're going to do that in September. We have not traveled as much this year as we did last year and the years before, just because things have been a little bit more difficult, but and now I'm kind of gun shy after the incident, getting back from Florida and stuff like that. So we're going to try to get back into it a little bit just by heading up north for a few days, in September, and see how a road trip goes. And we're going to rent a place on the lake and just kind of kick back and enjoy ourselves, bring the bikes and, fish and boat and just hang out. So we're looking forward to that, trying to find that perfect place, which I kind of obsess over once I start that. But yeah, so hopefully this video answered some questions that I had regarding the Trilogy, and if anybody has any further questions that maybe I didn't cover about it that you wanted to know, feel free to just write them in the bottom and I'll be happy to respond. So until next time, take care, you guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.